what's a better strategy, HMOs or service accommodation? Well, let's look at them individually. With HMOs, what you're doing, you're taking a single house and generally turning it into a multiple occupancy house. That means you've got several people living in one property, paying you multiple rents. So let's say you take a 4-bedroom family house and you had turned that into a 6-person HMO. Now you've got 6 rents that you're collecting from that property. So you're making more money than you would as a single family house. So that's the upside. Some of the challenges around that is there tends to be a lot of compliance that you need to do to ensure the property is safe and set up correctly in order for it to work well. And of course, it's much more labor intensive, i.e. time intensive. You need to put more time and effort into running and operating that compared to, say, a single family house. Now, when we compared that to, say, serviced accommodation, with service accommodation, what you're doing, rather than packing as many people as you can into a property, as it were, to try and maximize the number of people that you've got in a property, what you're doing, you're maximizing the time that that property is available for. So really, you're breaking up the time slots into like a nightly rate. So rather than making a property available for 6 months to a family, for instance, you're selling it on a night-by-night basis, which means overall you're increasing the income that way. Now, the overall revenue you generate from a service accommodation property is probably significantly higher than a HMO, and the HMO will be significantly higher than, say, a family. However, the setup costs in terms of a service accommodation may not be that different from a HMO, i.e. you need to kit it out, furnish it, and you've got all the setup costs, but then you've got the operational costs as well. Again, the operational costs, such as, for example, all the utilities you need to be paying, gas, electric, water, council tax, TV license, internet, cleaners, gardeners, all these things are your operational costs that you would have on both HMOs and service accommodation. But then on service accommodation, we've also got the additional changeover of, for example, regular tenancy changeover. You might have bed linen changing, you get teas and coffees and things like this that you need to top up as well within the property. So your costs will be slightly higher. Then in terms of the challenges with running service accommodation, you need to work on a high occupancy level to really make it profitable, because it's the uncertainty of not knowing how much occupancy level you're going to have at any one time in the future. So for example, if you let a room to somebody in a HMO, you know they're going to be 6 months there at least. Whereas you've got somebody who's booked in for 4 nights and then somebody else for 2 nights or 1 night and then a week or 2 weeks, whatever it might be, you can't plan so far ahead with that cash flow. So you have to be much more hands-on and much more involved in terms of making sure your systems and processes are working well in order to keep those occupancy levels really high. So at the end of the day, which one's better? Well, sometimes what we do, we try and work it out what's going to make more money. Well, your service accommodation will certainly make more money if it's run well compared to a HMO. And a HMO will make a lot more money than, say, a family let. So when we try and compare which one's better, well, ultimately it depends. It depends on how you're going to run them, who the type of occupants, guests or tenants are going to be living in those properties, how involved you want to be, how much money you want to spend, and what part of the country that you're based in, to try and find which will be the right strategy, which is going to be the right strategy for you, as opposed to one's better than the other. Hey, if you're enjoying these Saj daily videos, then what I'd like you to do is click on my face over here to subscribe to the channel, and also click on the bell in order to get the notifications when these videos are being released. Then what to do next is click on this video here, and I'll see you over here on this video next.